The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, what up? This is Rocky Asuka Romero of Chaos, and you are listening to Keepin' It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, solo this week. On today's show, I'll be reviewing the Road to New Beginning, previewing New Beginning in Osaka, and covering all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And like you heard in the intro, I am solo this week. Unfortunately, the young boy Josh Smith has COVID, so definitely not great there. That's right, COVID is still out there, folks. So definitely my prayers out to the young boy. Hope that he starts feeling better. So if you're the praying kind of folk like me, go ahead and give him some prayers or give him some vibes, whatever your thing is. But gonna hope that he gets better soon and will be back in action with me next week, because next week we'll have that big New Beginning in Osaka show to review, which I'll be previewing here on this week's show. And for the show, I'm going to go over the New Beginning shows, Road to New Beginning, that happened this past weekend in Korakuen Hall. So I'll break those shows down, give you previews for New Beginning Osaka coming up next Sunday, and then I'll answer all the listener questions that came in. So let's jump into this. We're going to start with the Road to New Beginning. That the first show from this weekend was Sunday, February 4th from Korakuen Hall. So our show opened up. We had the House of Torture team of Evil, Ren Narita, Sho, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Yujiro Takahashi defeating the team of El Desperado, Oleg Boltin, Shota Umino, Togi Makabe, and Yoshihashi. So here we just see the continuation of the feud between House of Torture and Hantai, and Umino defeated Ren Narita last week, so he's in the rare review. But Umino will be challenging Evil for the Never Openweight Championship coming up at the New Beginning, I believe, in Sapporo. So they're starting to shift the build from Umino and Narita over to Umino and Evil. So this was your standard opening tag match here. Towards the end, Evil hit the everything. It's Evil on Makabe to get the win. They're also building up Sho versus Desperado. Previously, Sho had stole Desperado's mask, and once again here, Sho stole the title, and Despy was chasing him around, also trying to get his original mask back. So lots of shenanigans in this match. Evil gets the win. Then post-match, Evil grabs a mic and talks to Umino, talking trash. He pulls out the Never title. He grabs a black spray paint can, shakes it up, and sprays the Never title black. Umino tries to run in and stop this, horrible act here, but Evil gets away. So good heat here, building up the feud between Shota Umino and Evil for the Never title. Evil, disregarding the title, which makes me kind of think, I wonder if we're going to get a new design for the Never title once Umino wins it. And yeah, early prediction here, I do think that Umino is going to beat Evil to win his first singles New Japan title. And so it could be kind of cool to bring in a new design. That Never design has been there for quite some time. And so, they are trying to give these guys kind of their own look and their own feel and their own legacies. So, I mean, I'm fine if they keep the title the way it is, but it could be an opportunity to update the design, maybe even the logo a little bit. So yeah, good stuff there. So then following that, we had the second match of the night. We had the Bullet Club team of Chase Owens, Kenta, and Taiji Ishimori defeating the GOD team of Hikuleo, El Phantasmo, and Tomohiko Honma. So here we're continuing to build up the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Title match with the Girls of Destiny. ELP and Hikuleo will be defending those titles against Chase Owens and Kenta. We kind of talked about this, how they already lost the strong openweight tag team title match against GOD. So why are we getting this matchup here again? Well, these guys have gotten heat now to champs. They've stolen the titles, and ELP and Hikuleo feel humiliated and want to get their revenge. Still don't think it's a great reason to give Kenta and Chase another title match, but it is what it is here. Owens hit the package pile driver on Honma on one of the tag titles to get the win. Then following that, we had the TMDK team of Koshei Fujita, Mikey Nichols, Shane Hayes, and Zack Sabre Jr. They defeated the Chaos team of Tomohiro Ishii and Yo, who teamed up with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Ryusuke Taguchi. And this match kind of playing into getting Zack Sabre Jr. ready for Bryan Danielson for New Beginning in Osaka. So you've kind of seen Sabre and Danielson. These guys have been trying to get ready for this match in different ways. Sabre has faced guys like Tiger Mask. Bryan Danielson has faced Yuji Nagata. So these guys are really trying to test themselves and get themselves ready for this New Beginning in Osaka matchup here. And so the story here, Zack Sabre, he kind of watched that match that we watched a couple weeks ago from the recommended match with Danielson and Curryman defending against Taguchi and Goto. So Sabre was mixing it up there with Taguchi, a guy who's faced Bryan Danielson in his past life as a New Japan junior back in the early 2000s. And also TMDK, the unit of Fujita, Hayes, and Nichols, they're also looking to get themselves back into position for a Never six-man title match, considering, Okada says the title is vacated. We haven't got an official message from, the quote-unquote championship committee. We haven't seen the black and white lion mark come out and say that the titles are vacated and we're going to be looking for new champions. So yeah, with these guys being the previous number one contenders, getting a win here could have put them back in the hunt. And so the team did win. It was Sabre who got the win here, tapping out Taguchi after, of course, some Taguchi antics. And like we mentioned on commentary, they teased that these guys, they want to get back with the Never six-man title. So we'll see. We still don't know what Okada's last two matches are for night 1 and 2 of New Beginning in Sapporo. So potentially they could do a rematch for the Never six-man titles and drop the belts to TMDK. Or who knows, maybe Okada is right and these titles are vacated, and Okada and or Tanahashi and Ishii are just gonna have to find a third man, a new partner, or maybe this is forget it all together and they let some other teams fight over it. Maybe we get some kind of tournament or gauntlet, some kind of situation like that to determine new Never six-man champions. So then following that, we had the Just Five Guys team, all five of them here, Doki, Sanada, Taichi, Taka, and Yuya Uemura. They defeated the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo, Naito, and Yota Tsuji. So here in this match, we're building a lot of singles matches that are coming up during the New Beginning in Sapporo tour. All these guys are going to be facing off in big singles matches, and we know that there's a heated rivalry, especially with Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. So they were going at it here, and they got the finish here where Uemura does a Frankensteiner, turns it into a straight armbar, and taps out the Gene Blast Yota Tsuji. So another win over Tsuji for Uemura. Kind of an embarrassing loss there for Tsuji, tapping out. So really kind of stirring the heat in the fire here. Tsuji was very upset, not happy that he tapped out to Uemura, and we would see kind of some developments that would happen in the next night. But also here, we're building Sanada and Naito for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Also building up Shingo and Taichi having a singles match, and also Hiromu and Doki. We saw Doki pin Hiromu in a tag match last week, and Doki kind of seems to have Hiromu's number right now, and that's also getting under the skin of Hiromu. So it seems like the Just Five Guys team here is really, pushing the buttons and the emotions of the quote unquote tranquilo LIJ group here. But this is a pretty good feud, and the singles matches coming up in Sapporo should be fun. And then, I'll talk about what happens the next night here when they went into faction warfare. So then following that, we had a matchup here with the Great Okan defeating Alex Coughlin. And this was a change in the card. So actually, kind of a little pre-show segment, we had the Bullet Club War Dogs. They were beating down Jeff Cobb. Apparently there was an autograph signing before the show, and they attacked him. He was already pulled from wrestling due to a hamstring injury in his leg. So doctors pulled him just as a precaution so that he would be good to go for the big cage match coming up this Sunday for New Beginning in Osaka. So he was, out there minding his own business, and then he gets jumped down by all the War Dogs. They attack the injured leg. So he's definitely out of commission. So Great Okan came in here to take Jeff Cobb's spot. And, if Cobb doesn't get cleared, they could slide Okan in there. Okan doesn't have anything planned for New Beginning in Osaka, and they could switch out him for Cobb in that cage match. But Okan, he filled in here for his United Empire brethren, and he defeated Alex Coughlin. Really good matchup here. A lot of really good amateur-style wrestling towards the beginning. We know Okan is a master in a lot of martial arts disciplines, including amateur wrestling. And Coughlin, I'm not sure if he has the amateur wrestling background, but also he spent a lot of time in the LA dojo with Katsuyori Shibata, and also they train a lot of amateur wrestling in the LA and Noge dojo. So these guys had a lot of good grappling exchange here. And of course, we saw the power from these guys. Coughlin hitting nasty German suplex on Okan. Okan returning the favor later on in the match with a big gut wrench suplex. And then these guys kind of went toe-to-toe. Anything you can do, I could do better with belly-to-belly suplexes. So these guys are just taking turns throwing each other overhead, belly-to-belly suplex. Awesome stuff here. Then Okan eventually gets the advantage. He hits the Tenzan-style tombstone driver. And then Coughlin popped up from that after the near fall. And then Okan hit the Eliminator right after that, bouncing Coughlin off the mat. 1, 2, 3. Okan gets a good win here. Really good match. I think Okan really needed a strong performance like that. He is the provisional KOPW 2024 champion, and apparently he has big plans for that title this year. He has a new little preamble entrance for his music and video. So it seems like we might be finally getting that Okan push that we been hearing about for years. There seems to be a focus to do with him. But good stuff here. Coughlin looked great as well. So fun matchup there. And then after that match, we had the absolute banger of a match with Gabe Kidd and Hanare fighting to a 20-minute, actually, it wasn't a time limit draw. It was a double knockout. They could not answer the count of the referee. But man, in AEW, right now there's the whole thing of restore the feeling. Well, Gabe Kidd and Hanare came out here and said, we want to restore the feeling for New Japan Pro Wrestling. We want to show people what strong style is about. We want to show people what fighting spirit is about. And that's what we got here. Man, this absolute barn burner. These guys from the opening bell, like Gabe Kidd comes out first, followed by Hanare. And the ring announcer doesn't even get a chance to do Hanare's, ring call. As soon as Hanare gets in the ring, takes the jacket off, and they're running it. Big layered exchanges from there. Then they're exchanging chops. They go to the outside, and they're brawling on the outside, and then they end up brawling all the way up in the stands in Cork and Hall. Crowd's going crazy. Hanare, he tries to do the rampage, which is that running kind of rugby pickup tackle spear thing that he does. He tried doing that in the crowd, and Kidd was able to reverse it, hits a big knee, and then Kidd goes to the top of the stairs in Cork and Hall. Looks like he's going to do a big crossbody, jumps up, boom, Hanare catches them right in the kisser, big right hand as he was coming down. So great stuff there, brawling all throughout the crowd. Eventually, that they get back in the ring, and these guys, they're trading big chops and kicks, and Kidd's trying to lay the fire in with the chops, and then Hanare, he has that Muay Thai style background. He's, killing Kidd with these big old kicks to the chest, just gruesome stuff, man. Like these kicks were echoing out throughout Cork and Hall, crowd oohing and awing, and these guys are just, they're taking turns, they're showing their fighting spirit, trying to one-up each other with these big strikes. At one point they're in the corner, they're exchanging the chops and the kicks, and from there, again, they're throwing big lariats out. Hanare comes out with a spinning back fist. Gabe Kidd hits a nasty-looking brain buster. Hanare pops back up with a Death Valley driver. And they're both down. Early in the match before that, we did get a tease of a double count out where they couldn't answer the count of the ref, but Hanare grabbed Marty Asami's hand, was like, nah, and they kept running it from there. But then eventually, they're back up, and they're throwing bombs at each other, and there's a big headbutt there, and both men go down. Ref counts to 10, and neither man could respond, and we get a 10 count double KO draw. And man, this was just an absolutely incredible matchup. If you have not watched this match, you need to go out of your way and watch this matchup. It's really, really good stuff. I had lots of questions here from it. First here from Rambone Slam Pig. He says, Hanare versus Gabe Kidd has to be an early contender for strong style fight of the year. I realize the future of each of them is up in the air right now. Do you have any thoughts on what comes next for each? I assume a rematch on a bigger stage given the finish, but after that, are either possible contenders for a mid-card title run in the near future? I think both these guys are great, and especially after a match like that, I hope, New Japan office, Bushiroad, I hope Tanahashi, Gato, whoever's, watching and booking these shows, I hope that they are paying attention to this and seeing the absolutely great stuff that these guys did here, and the great matches that they can have and just the presence that they bring, the intensity they bring to matches. And so as far as what's next for them, also we know in the short term what's next for them. They're going to be in this 5-on-5 war game style cage match coming up this Sunday. But following the cage match, we got New Japan Cup coming up in March. So, I mean, if I'm New Japan, if I'm booking this thing, I find a way to get Kid and Hanare in New Japan Cup. Knowing them, they will probably book it as a first round matchup, which is fine. Get a banger in the first round, but I think there are two guys that you should push them, whether they're on the same side of the bracket or not. I will have them go far in the tournament and meet later. Make it get them down to final 8, final 4 kind of scenario. Either they're on the same bracket, you get them down to that final 4 side or final 8, or you have them potentially. I doubt they would both get to the finals, but there's things you can do to make it work out. Get them in the New Japan Cup and have them have a series. After this, I would definitely have them have a series. Have them wrestle New Japan Cup. I would have them wrestle G1 Climax, put them in the same block. There's so much great stuff you can do with these guys this year and have that really hard-hitting rivalry. As far as titles, I think both these guys are overdue for a singles title run, especially Hanare. This is a guy that's been here pretty much since we've been doing this show. When we started doing the show, he was Young Lion, Toa Hanare, having that intense rivalry with Tomohiro Ishii, and he's been having bangers since then. So I think that Hanare is definitely a guy that you can put the Never title on. You could potentially at some point put the global title on him. And same thing for Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd's the man. And yeah, both these guys I think deserve to get titles this year and be elevated up the card. This match was a Never style matchup. I wish that Umino could have been going after the global title, and then somehow you shoehorn the Never title picture into Hanare and Gabe Kidd, because these guys, this is what you want to see when you see a Never title match. Is the stuff that they did here in this matchup. Next question here from Def Triangle 720 is, after seeing the Hanare versus Kidd match, do you think Gato is on a watch list if he fumbles with either guy after those star-making performances? Well, I think Gato's on a watch list regardless. He's got to get guys over. There's a lot of things that he has to do to really help heat up New Japan, but especially after this matchup here, I would be asking some questions. Why aren't we pushing Hanare? Why aren't we pushing Gabe Kidd? Why aren't we getting the Never title on them? Why aren't they going far in a New Japan Cup, a G1 Climax? There's going to be a lot of questions for Gato this year. Next question here from the French Ted says, Gabe Kidd has to be the next BC leader after Finley is slowly turned on by his dogs. How do you see that being played out? Well, we saw the post-match promos last week where Dave Finley was talking trash and Gabe Kidd was trying to, jump in, and Finley shut him down, and Gabe Kidd did not take kindly to that. So they did drop some seeds of dissension. Since then, I really haven't seen anything. I haven't watched all the backstage comments from these weekend shows, so they could be teasing stuff backstage, but I haven't seen those yet. So potentially we could see an issue in the War Games. It's going to be 5-on-5. All those guys are going to be out there. There could be a miscommunication between Finley and Kidd. You could have Kidd trying to be the one calling the shots in the cage, and then Finley's like, no, we're running my game plan. So I think you could continue to sow seeds of dissension, or if you're looking to do a quick turn, I guess you could do it in the cage match where Kidd's had enough of Finley and leaves them high and dry, and then War Dogs are down 4-5, and United Empire get the advantage. That's one way you can do it. The hard thing though with them turning is Finley, he has a global title match coming up in Sapporo, defending against Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler. So clearly, Finley is still going to be positioned as a heel, and I would think that you would still have the War Dog unit as a heel as well. So I'm not quite sure like how that turn shakes out right now. I don't know if they should pull it right now. I think maybe they should kind of continue to sow a little bit more seeds and then pull the turn later. And then maybe you can turn Finley face off of that, or maybe Finley leaves the company, is going to leave and go to WWE and, join his dad like his dad wants. And you could have those guys beat him out of the company. So we'll see what they do here, but I definitely think there is potential to have Gabe Kidd be the leader, and all the rest of the War Dogs, they're LA dojo guys, with the exception of Drilla Maloney. So Gabe Kidd, Connors, Coughlin, they all have a really tight connection and tight bond, and Drilla's kind of fit in with them. So you could have those guys. I think they would be a really cool unit without Finley, kind of get them out away from the rest of the Bull Club and kind of have them do their own thing. That could be really cool. Next question here from the Discord, Daddy MJ says, Gabe and Hanare, heart and spirit of NJPW. Who is the heart and who is spirit? Man, MJ, you're not giving me the easy questions here this week. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that one. I think that in this match, they both displayed the heart and spirit of New Japan Pro Wrestling. It is the kind of action that we all came here for. It's the reason why we love New Japan. Hard-hitting, athletic matches like that where two guys are just trying to fight to prove who is the better man, who is the guy who has the stronger fighting spirit. And then last question from this match from Cozy Dr. Lariat. He says, I think Hanare can easily fill the hole Tama created. No pause. How do you guys feel about Hanare hopefully finally stepping up? Like I said earlier, Hanare has been a guy who's been here for a while. He's done his dues. He went through the Noge Dojo. He didn't get like a full excursion, but he came back and he's been grinding throughout, doing the Toa Hanare stuff, and then joining United Empire and kind of transitioning to what he is right now, the face of Fury. I definitely think he's a guy that, they're sleeping on. And my fear with Hanare is that they have pigeonholed him into kind of this lower mid-card spot, and they don't want to elevate him because he has been around for a while, and they've beaten him a lot. And so maybe they feel like he's not somebody they could quote unquote rehab and push higher up the card. And I know some Western fans might kind of view him as that kind of lower mid-card guy, but I think that especially with all these foreigners leaving, Okada leaving, like there are guys that you need to elevate, and I don't think that he's too far gone where they can't elevate him. Like I don't think he's going to be the world champion or anything, but he's a guy that you can put the Never title on. You can put the global title on him. You can get him in a tag title situation. You could have him win KOPW and do something similar like Shingo was doing and having more kind of serious, hard-hitting matchups. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with Hanare, and I think he's a guy that you need to utilize and move up the card this year. So then following that matchup, we had David Finlay defeating the Prince of Pace, Callum Newman, 10 minutes and 27 seconds. So obviously, throughout this tour, Will Ospreay has not been on this Road to New Beginning tour, but he will be there Sunday in Osaka for the cage match. So taking his place on this tour has been his protege, Callum Newman, coming from Rev Pro, who's been training in the Noge Dojo, who's been a part of United Empire the last few months and has pretty much been on every tour the last few months and has looked great, has put on a lot of size, and really lives up to that name, the Prince of Pace. But He was in here with David Finlay and started the matchup. Callum attacked Finlay, and they're brawling on the floor. Finlay gets back control by throwing him into the guardrail. And they go back and forth from there. Mid-match, Callum hits a Spanish fly. Hits a great tiger suplex for a near fall. Then Finlay would eventually come back. He's hitting the big cross-face blows. He's talking smack. He's calling out Ospreay. He hits the big release power bombs. At one point he was doing those series of power bombs to kind of take people out. That's what he did to Tama Tonga in the middle of last year. It's over and over and over again with the power bombs. But only one power bomb here for a near fall. And then he pulled Callum Newman up after he hit the power bomb. Clearly Callum was knocked out here. Don't know why. Marty didn't stop the match, but yeah, he hits the power bomb. He pulls Newman up by the hair, and then he hits a new kind of version of his finish here, where he lifts him up, vertical suplex, and then he did a knee strike on the way down. I think he calls it the cross strike, I believe is what he calls it. So he hits that and gets the win over Callum Newman, and continues to talk smack to Will Ospreay, being like, this is your boy Will. Where are you at, Will? You guys, you have no chance in the cage. And so pushing Finlay here, taking out Ospreay's protege and Callum Newman, and marching forward towards the 5-on-5 cage match. Question here from Def Triangle 720 says, what's your thoughts on Finlay as champion so far in 2024? I think he's been fine so far. I mean, he hasn't had any title defenses. I mean, he's kind of been doing what he's been doing this whole time. I think we're really going to see what his title reign is going to look like once he gets in there with Nick Nemeth. Like, is that going to be something where he drops the title to Nick Nemeth? Is he going to have a long title reigns? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but as of right now, there's not really much to judge. I mean, he won the title and hasn't defended it yet. Next question here from MJ. He says, is the global championship just going to be the defendant against an import title? How would you book this title, and what should it be known for? I think I would book this title the same way. I mean, they were booking the old white strap, the old Intercontinental title. I think the goal of a title like this is I think you want to elevate it to a point to where it can main event a big show on one of these tours. And so I think that you need to have the global title be its own draw and get to the point where, all right, yeah, you could main event a New Beginning in Sapporo with it. You can main event a Destruction in Kobe with it. And so they have to elevate it to that point. That's what I would do with it. As far as it going to be like fight the import title, I mean, maybe. I don't know, because like their whole explanation, it was the world champion, so Naito now, the IWGP world champion. The world comes to fight the world champion, but then the global champion goes out to fight the world. So you would think that, based off of their explanation, that Finlay would be going out and defending the title outside of New Japan against other people, but Nick Nemeth is coming in, so you have people coming in to face the global and world champion. So kind of dumb, but whatever. I think that eventually, I mean, I don't think it's always going to be against a new foreigner, but I think that you probably will see that. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually like Matt Riddle gets a championship match, depending how his match goes with Tanahashi. But I think that they will, at least hopefully, try to elevate to a status of, all right, this is a title that can main event a big show, and it's and make it a prestigious title. So then following that, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title main event. the Bullet Club War Dogs, Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney, they defeated Catch 2-2, Francesco Akira, and TJP to once again become the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions. And really good matchup here. I like this matchup better than their Wrestle Kingdom match, just because, we didn't have the whole full out Oz Wong thing. TJP still had the red eye contact. He's still spitting out mist in his matches, which whatever, that's fine as long as he's not wearing the Halloween store mask and crawling around like he's a deranged creature. I'm good. He can keep the contacts in the mist. That's fine. But these guys came out here. They all brawled as soon as the bell went out, and then from there, they were brawling on the outside, and they pulled out a table from the ring, and Connors ends up spearing Akira on it. But of course, it is the strong style Japanese table, so it did not break. But the thing with that spot too is because initially it was TJP who brought the table out, and we've seen that Akira has been very hesitant after getting jabbed in the fork a couple weeks ago, and he wants no part of this whole cage match, this whole war against the War Dogs. He just wants to win the titles and wrestle. He doesn't want to be in a hardcore match, a cage match. He doesn't want to, wrestle that style. And so he was very kind of hesitant when TJP brought the table out and they were trying to put Clark through it, and that all backfired, and he ended up getting speared on it. And then Drilla came out. He put his boot through the table, and then they once again threw Akira to the table from there. So they were working over TJP until Akira was able to get back in and got some high-flying offense from them, taking out both of the War Dogs. Connors hit a nasty Jeep flip, which is his version of the pounce on Akira, sent him flying out the ring. Eventually, TJP gets back in, and he's flying all over the place, hitting topes. Then TJP hits a super kick on Connors. But then eventually Connors comes back, he hits Akira with a power slam, and then they hit their high-low on TJP for a near fall, but Akira makes a save, and then Connors accidentally spears Drilla Maloney. It seems like Catch 2-2 was going to get the win here. They go for their knee, but Drilla makes a save. And then back in here towards the end, got a nice little back and forth between both teams. Catch 2-2 hitting their double team X Factor for a near fall. And but eventually Connor comes back, hits his no chaser. And Catch 2-2, they come back and they're trying to hit the full clip on the Bullet Club War Dogs, but it backfired on them. They also, at one point, Drilla pulled the fork out, which distracted Akira and got him spooked, and so he was kind of frozen on the apron, and they were able to hit the double team combo on TJP, knocked Akira off the apron, hit the full clip, and 1, 2, 3, the Bullet Club War Dogs regain the championships, and then these guys are continuing to beat down TJP and Akira. Finley runs out, and there's some of the other War Dogs, and they're being down. You had Empire. Injured Jeff Cobb tries to make the save. Ocon tries to make the save, but Finley has a shillelagh. He hits Cobb in the injured leg. He knocks out Ocon. They're beating all those guys down. And we end February 4th with the Bullet Club War Dogs being on top and getting the momentum going into the next night. So let's see a few questions here. First from Rambone Slam Pig. He says, Drilla Maloney's arm looks pretty messed up. Any thoughts on how his injury may affect booking with regard to the junior tag belts and the United Empire versus War Dogs feud, etc.? So yeah, in this matchup, Drilla, his arm was all taped up and bandaged up. Apparently, he has a torn bicep, and in the post-match promos, he pulled off the tape and the elbow pad and shows the bicep and says that, he tore the bicep off the bone. So obviously not a great injury to have, torn bicep. And yeah, he's going into the War Games match the Sunday. So yeah, clearly I think he'll probably be protected. I mean, he wrestled fine here in the tag title match, so I don't know how bad the bicep tear is. It's something he clearly can still compete with, but I don't know if you want to do that for too long without either letting it heal or doing some kind of surgery. Again, I'm not a doctor. They have their own doctor, so hopefully they are advising him and they care about his health first. So yeah, it might be a situation where he might be pulling a Royal Rumble where a guy's just kind of sitting around grabbing a rope. Maybe he's just going to be getting stomped on at some point in the match because he can't do much. But he competed here fine in this match, so we'll see what the status of his injury is going into the cage match. And my guess, again, not a doctor, but I know that torn biceps are usually a faster kind of comeback, and depending on how bad the tear is, so maybe he can get through the 5-on-5 cage and then kind of lay low until it's fully healed. We have, after Osaka, we have Fantastica Mania. Then we move into New Beginning in Sapporo. I have to look and see if he's on the Sapporo cards. And then there's New Japan Cup. He's probably not going to be New Japan Cup. So potentially he could get a nice little break and just kind of come back in April. And hopefully the bicep would be healed by then. Another question here from Rambos. He says, the February 4th Korakuen Road 2 show has to be among the best Road 2 shows in recent years. Can you think of any others that had multiple high-level matches like the back half of today's card? I mean, I would have to go back and look and pull up the cage match, look in the Keepin' It Strong Style archive to remember some of these things. But in recent time, this is definitely one of the best Road 2 shows. I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about the Road to, what was that, Sakura Genesis, where Hanare and Shingo had the ultimate triad match. That match obviously was incredible, but I don't remember the rest of the card being super high end. But like this show, yeah, after all the multi-man stuff is done, really great stuff here. Packed, sold out Korakuen Hall house, and this United Empire and Bullet Club War Dog feud is super heated, and there's a ton of heat, crowds into it, a lot of great story elements, and yeah, this was definitely a great show to watch, definitely better than some of the other Road 2 shows on this tour. And as of right now, February 5th, I mean, this could be a show of the year contender as of right now. Next question here from Def Triangle 720. What do you think is next for the junior tag belts? Well, as far as design, we did see they brought back out the Bullet Club War Dog white strap version of the titles that they brought out at the Wrestle Kingdom 18 press conference. So they brought back the white straps. And yeah, I think a lot of what happens next depends on Drilla's bicep injury. Like I said, if it's something where he can get through the cage and then kind of lay low, then I think that, you load up the next team for those guys and maybe you keep it on them. I mean, there's a bunch of junior teams that they can throw out there. Teton will be coming in for Fantastica Mania. You could have Teton stick around. You could do Teton and Bushi against those guys. You could do Bushi and Hiromu. You can do Teton and Hiromu. That would be kind of a cool combo. So there's a lot of LIJ teams that you could do there. Musashi's coming in for Fantastica Mania, and he's probably going to stick around. You can bring Musashi and Yo in to face those guys. Our good friend Robbie Eagles, get him on the plane. Have him and Ichiban Sweet Boy Kosei Fujita team up to face the Bullet Club War Dog. So there are a lot of options. Also, intergalactic jet setters. We haven't seen those guys since Super Junior Tag League. They've been doing a lot of stuff in Impact, and we know that Kushida is signed full time to Impact now, but will still be working in New Japan dates. So I gotta imagine at some point that you bring the jet setters back in, and you could have Kevin Knight and Kushida challenge those guys. We know there's history there as well. And also there's history with Kevin Knight and those LA Dojo guys. And who knows, maybe they will try to get him to join the dark side and join the rest of the LA Dojo graduates and become a War Dog. And then last question here on this matchup from Nabeth in the Discord says, how much of a sicko is Drilla Maloney for wrestling with a torn bicep? Well, a lot of wrestlers, that's an injury that you hear about that guys do wrestle through. But Drilla is the man, dude. This guy is jacked. That Drilla Killer pile driver is awesome. And he's a guy that just doesn't want bubble tea. He wants beer. So Drilla's the man. And yeah, I thought he looked good in the tag match. And yeah, hopefully the torn bicep isn't too bad and he won't be out for too long. All right, let's move on now to the second night here of Road to New Beginning, which was this morning, February 5th, also in Korakuen Hall. Show opened up. We had the Young Lions, Katsuya Murashima and Shoma Kato. They wrestled to a 10-minute time limit draw. I really don't have much to say with these guys. Still kind of learning these guys and kind of seeing where they're at. Nothing crazy here. Your typical Young Lion 10-minute draw. Somebody almost has a win. Time runs out. So obviously they're continuing to tell the story of these guys trying to one-up each other. And so like every kind of Young Lion class, these guys will be paired off and we will see these guys continue to fight until they go on excursion. So then following that, we had the Bullet Club team of Chase, Kenta, and Ishimori defeating the GOD team of El Fantasma, Hikuleo, and Jado. So once again, just continuing that tag team title feud here, and Bullet Club once again getting the better of the GOD team. Then following that, we had El Desperado, Oleg Boltin, Shota Umino, Tomioka Hanuma, and Yo defeating Evil, Red Narita, Sho, Kanemaru, and Yujiro from the House of Torture. So Umino here getting some comeuppance here on the House of Torture guys and picking up a big win, leading into that never openweight title match. And of course, again, there was interactions with Despy and Sho, also building up to that matchup. Then following that, we had the TMDK team of Kosei Vegeta, Mikey Nichols, Shane Hayes, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the Chaos team of Ishii and Yano, teaming up with Tanahashi and Togi Makabe. Zack Sabre tapping out Togi Makabe here. So Sabre has just been on a roll, tapping folks out in the build to facing the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And then, like I mentioned earlier, Vegeta, Nichols, Hayes, they want to get back in contention for the never open weight 6-man tag team titles. So then following that, we had the United Empire team of Callum Newman, Francisco Akira, Hanare, and TJP defeating the Bullet Club War Dogs by disqualification at 1 minute and 11 seconds. So wasn't much of a match here. Essentially, this was more of an angle. Like pretty much all their matches that came out here, and they started running it from the get-go. Wild, crazy brawl. Connors, I believe he threw a table. Ref threw it out immediately. Then Connors kills Marty Asami with this big spear. And then the War Dogs, they just beat down United Empire. And United Empire was down. Because Cobb, he's out with the injury. They kept Hanare off the card. Gabe Kidd and Hanare were off the show due to the wild brawl, the wild match they had the night before. Callum Newman was, beat down by David Finlay the night before. So United Empire didn't have a lot of numbers here, and they were all kind of beaten down as well. So the War Dog team, they got the win and left the United Empire team laying once again. So Bullet Club War Dogs are rolling in with all the momentum going into the cage match. And then the main event, we had the Faction Warfare Gauntlet match where Los Ingobernables de Japón, they defeated the Just Five Guys team. And like I mentioned, this was the Faction Warfare Gauntlet match. So how this match worked, you had one member from each faction starting the match. Each little mini match in the gauntlet would be 10 minutes, or the 10-minute time limit. And then if that went to a draw, both guys would be eliminated. And then you could bring out the next two guys from the factions, or if one guy pinned that guy, the guy that got pinned out, and then you bring in another guy from his faction, and the other guy stays in. So kind of a little mix of, King of the Hill kind of style matchup as far, and a gauntlet match. So very unique style of matchup here. Apparently they haven't really done this kind of style of gauntlet since the mid 80s in a big tag match there. So bringing this format back, and kind of interesting format here, and they ended up starting the match off with Tetsuya Naito and Sonata. So I think most people would expect, the bigger, the leaders, the main eventers to be the last two guys, but they were the first two guys out here, and they wrestled to the 10-minute time limit. And I thought what they did was pretty good. I know I'm not always excited about Sonata and Naito mixing it up, but in this kind of 10 minutes, it was almost a sprint, and they were kind of going back and forth trying to hit their big moves, and there was near countouts, a lot of countering between the Destino and the Deadfall. Towards the last few seconds, Sonata was trying to get a O'Connor roll, but then time expired. Neither guy could get the better of each other. So 10-minute time limit draw. Both these guys got eliminated. So then Just Five Guys, they send out Taka Michinoku. And unfortunately for Taka, LIJ sent out Shingo Takagi. So they came out here, but Taka was, he didn't back down. He attacked the knee of Shingo, and he almost got a near count out on Shingo, and he was outsmarting, using his legendary tactics to get the better of Shingo. But then eventually Shingo had enough. It's a big pumping bomber, power bomb into the Takagi style STF, and he submitted Taka. So then, of course, Just Five Guys, they send out Taichi. So we know that Taichi and Shingo have been feuding. These guys are going to face off New Beginning in Sapporo. So the out comes Taichi. So then these guys are going back and forth and having a hard-hitting matchup. Towards the end of the time limit, Taichi hits a big Gamengiri, but then time runs out. So both Taichi and Shingo are eliminated. So then LIJ sends out Bushi, and Just Five Guys sends out Doki. So they go back and forth until Doki's able to do the Jorge Rivera special and keep Bushi down for the 3 count. Then following that, LIJ sends out Hiromu Takahashi, who will be facing Doki on the New Beginning of Sapporo Night 2 show. And as I mentioned earlier, Doki has kind of been humiliating Hiromu, getting the better of him, pinning him last week. And so these guys are going back and forth here. And once again, Doki's trying to pin Hiromu, and they're going back and forth. And the time elapses, so they're both eliminated. But before they leave the ring, Doki's still going. He does do the Jorge Rivera special to Hiromu, and even though the time expired, he was able to keep Hiromu down for 3 seconds. So another visual pinfall for Doki over Hiromu. So both of those guys got eliminated there. So that left the last two guys from each side, Yuya Uemura and Yota Tsuji. And, this feud's been really heating up. And, Wrestle Kingdom, Uemura was able to defeat Tsuji, get his first big pinfall win there over him. And then previous night, February 4th, he taps Tsuji out. And so, Tsuji, he's heated. He's looking for revenge here. And they did tease a similar spot where Uemura goes for the Frankensteiner into the armbar, but Tsuji reversed it into a stack. And then they're going back and forth. And then eventually Tsuji hits the Gene Blast Spear. And also with their since they were the last two guys, that there was no time limit because they wanted there to be a winner. So them being the last two, they got to go a little bit longer without the constraint of the time limit. But Tsuji, he hits the Gene Blast Spear, finally gets a win over Uemura. Then post match, they get on the mic. It's getting heated, and Uemura challenges Tsuji to a hair versus hair match at the new Beginning in Sapporo, February 24th. And it seems like that is official. I think Tsuji accepted the matchup. So, we're going to get a hair versus hair match with two guys that have a great set of hair. It's going to be really sad. Whoever loses, it's going to be sad. I don't know why you would book this. Both these guys have a great head of hair. I would not want either of these guys being shaved, but somebody's going to get their hair cut come Sapporo. I'm sorry. I'm Team Tsuji on this one. I just think everything, the hair fits the aura. I can't picture that man bald. I think Uemura could bounce back without the hair. See, we had two questions here. First from Wukong 901. What did y'all think of Yuya during the 5-on-5 on the first night? Thought the end result was interesting, and the interaction with Naito afterwards even more so. So definitely a lot of spotlight on Yuya Uemura from the February 4th show. And post match he did kind of step over the title and kind of tease potentially maybe we want to go after Naito in the future. So I thought both these guys, Uemura and Tsuji, have gotten a lot of spotlight, and I like that with this second night with the Gauntlet that they did make the focus about the rivalry between Tsuji and Uemura. Because they could have done the typical thing of ending the Gauntlet with Sonata and Naito and then end it with a draw and be that. But they did something different. They mixed it up. They went with the two young guys who got definitive winner, and it plays into their feud. So I thought that was cool. So Yuya's been looking really good as well as Tsuji. Then a question here from Nabeth. He says, why is NJPW doing so many gimmick matches? With the additional stipulation match added for 224, am I crazy for thinking they're doing a bit much lately? It does seem like there is an increase of gimmick matches, but we've kind of seen an increase with them over the last couple of years due to KOPW happening. And they might not be your traditional gimmick matches, but they are gimmick matches. So we have seen an increase with KOPW. And I think a thing to remember too is, as far as we know, Gato is still booking this stuff, and Gato is a big fan of Southern style Memphis wrestling. Big heated blow-offs. You do a big cage. You do some kind of bloody match to blow off a feud, and Gato's a big style, that kind of Western Memphis style of booking. And so I think for him, you have to try some things different. You got to do some things outside the box that you normally don't do, heat some things up. And I think the way that he's built the War Dogs versus United Empire for this match has been excellent. The build for this has been great. This is going to be a feud of the year contender as of right now. And I think that they've built it up to deserve to be in a cage match. A lot of times in other promotions, you'll see a cage match just because it's a certain month. It's October, so we have to do a Hell in a Cell match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view because it's October, not because we've carefully built a feud, heated it up, and now it makes sense to put them in a giant cage structure. And so Gato has done a great job here of the post-match attacks, pre-match attacks, promos, the multi-man stuff, like everything that they've done with the War Dogs and United Empire deserves to be in that War Games cage match, because this is a heated, hated blood feud. Ospreay's leaving the territory. This is a great blow-off match to end this feud. As far as the hair versus hair for Tsuji and Uemura, again, that's something that's been built. These guys have been going back and forth, and a lot of the build to the Wrestle Kingdom match was these guys saying that they're copying each other with the hair and the colors, and they had already teased hair versus hair leading into Wrestle Kingdom. So again, they've established that this is a heated feud now between these guys, and again, a heated personal feud going after the hair, something that both guys really like about their features, and so makes a ton of sense to do the hair versus hair match. And these are big shows, and so adding some more stakes to them, I don't have a problem with that. My issue would have been if they had not built these up to be in a stipulation, had the War Dogs and UE just kind of had your run-of-the-mill faction versus faction match, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna throw these in a cage match. I'd be like, why? And same thing with Uemura and Tsuji. Had they not mentioned hair versus hair, had this not been as heated as it become, I was like, all right, why are we just throwing a match out here? So I feel like with these, Gail's done a great job booking them, building the heat, and the stipulation fits the feud. But it will be interesting to see, going forward, will we see more of this? Will Gail start building more feuds to lead into bigger blow-off stipulation matches? So that is my review of the New Beginning. That was February 4th and 5th, Korakuen Hall. Make sure, if you have not watched it yet, go out of your way to watch Hanare and Gabe Kidd from the February 4th show. Really great stuff. The February 5th show is up for free on NJPW World. So if you are not a World subscriber, you can at least check out the 5th show for free. But if I'm you, you should drop the 9.99 yen to make sure you can watch Gabe Kidd versus Hanare. So now I'm going to transition into previewing the New Beginning in Osaka. So New Beginning in Osaka will be coming up here. Osaka Joe Hall. Pretty big card here. So opening up the show, we will have Bola Oten and Ryusuke Taguchi taking on Toru Yano and Yo. So just kind of opening match there. Nothing special about that one. Then following that, we'll have Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi taking on the United Empire team of Callum Newman and Great Okan. So two of the guys that are not involved in the 5-on-5 cage. Again, we have to keep our eyes out on the Jeff Cobb injury because if that hamstring injury is more serious and he doesn't get cleared, you would think that they would pull Okan from this match, and then we would probably get a Callum Newman singles match against one of the Bishamon guys. But as of now, it will be Bishamon versus Newman and Okan. I think this will be a great kind of rebound match for Bishamon from losing the tag team titles. And so I'm guessing that Bishamon would get the win here. You can heat them up and then potentially do a rematch with them and ELP and Hikuleo down the line. Then following that, we will have El Desperado, Shota Umino, Tiger Mask, and Tomi Okahama taking on House of Tortures, Evil, Ren Narita, Sho, and Yujiro Takahashi. So continuing to build the Umino Evil match and the Despi Sho match. Don't think the winner really matters here. There will be some kind of antics, and they will do something to continue to build up heat between both these teams. Then following that, we will have LIJ, Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo, Naito, and Tsuji taking on all of just 5 guys. So continuing to heat those guys up for their spotlight moment, which will be coming the new beginning in Sapporo Night 2, where all those guys will be facing off in big singles matches. So then following that, we will have one of Kazuchika Okada's last match in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he'll be facing his longtime rival, the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, the NJPW World Television Champion and president of NJPW. So we know the history between these guys, a epic, legendary feud in New Japan, one of the feuds that really elevated New Japan to the next level. Exactly 12 years to the day, same building that their first match, the match known as the Rainmaker Shock, where Okada comes back from excursion. He's this young kid, and he beats the ace. He beats Tanahashi and wins the IWGP Heavyweight title. So that obviously a really big historic moment, and that's something that catapulted Okada into the main event scene and kicked off this rivalry that would kind of be the foundation for New Japan for the quote-unquote kind of golden age, kind of this peak of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So going to be obviously a very good matchup. There's never a bad Tanahashi Okada match. I got to see these guys mix it up live in Dallas in 2019 for the G1 Climax, and that was a super great match to watch live. Clearly Tanahashi has lost a step even since then. So again, they don't expect this to be, one of the best of their series. I don't expect a 5-star match here, but these guys know each other so well, and Tanahashi has done a great job, I think, kind of covering up for some of the things he can't do anymore, and he's kind of laid more into the more grappling than some of the more high-flying stuff that he does. So I think they'll have a really good match. I think it'll hit the notebook, and there won't be a dry eye in the room. I think it's going to be a very emotional matchup. I hope they show some kind of video package or have some kind of make it special. And I know that there are people who have hard feelings about Okada leaving, and they don't want him to get any kind of special treatment, and it's like they just want to get him out the door. And I understand if you're upset that he's leaving, that's on you. But it's Okada. He's done so much for that company, and I think it'd be cool to kind of make his last few nights special. And there's obviously so much history and footage and promos that they could do for the Tanahashi match that you can make a really cool video package. So hopefully there's a really cool VTR they make for this matchup. And interesting what the result will be here. I think obviously with Okada not leaving, if this match was scheduled, I think we'd all just assume that Okada is going to win. But also he's on the way out. Tanahashi is the president. He is the TV champion. He has a TV title match coming up against Matt Riddle. So do you want to beat the TV champ and with a guy that's leaving the promotion? I don't know. But even with all that, I do find it hard. And we talked about this last week. I don't think that they're going to job Okada out. Hold on here, swig of water here for the solo man. So yeah, I don't think that they're going to leave Okada. They're gonna have him jobbing out, on the way out. I think that he's probably going to end up winning his last 3 matches, and there'll be kind of more special sentimental stuff. And at this point, I don't like Tanahashi beating Okada doesn't seem right. Like, what would be the point? I don't know. I think that Okada is going to win here. It'll be a really fun match. It'll be an emotional match, and be a great way to give Okada a big last match in Osaka. and get him ready for Sapporo. As of this recording, we don't know what his last 2 matches in Sapporo will be, but I'm sure they'll be as special. I guess this one, like we mentioned, it'll probably be like a Chaos Gauntlet or something like that, but this should be a really great matchup. And yeah, I'm going to go with the Rainmaker getting the win here and having a nice emotional moment. Then following that, we will have the IWGP Tag Team titles on the line as Guerrillas of Destiny, El Phantasmo, and Hikuleo will defend against the Bullet Club team of Chase Owens and Kenta. I mean, is what it is. I did not love their strong tag team title match that they had earlier in the tour. And again, questioning why are we even doing this? I think the most frustrating thing about this matchup is this coming after, not too long after World Tag League, where we had so many cool teams in that tournament. It was a really good World Tag League, and there's so many other teams that they have access to, yet they're choosing to go with Kenta and Chase Owens. And maybe this is, you want to give these guys a first easy defense. But I mean, there's Monster Sauce. There's TMDK. There's, War Dogs. There's so many other teams they highlighted in that World Tag League, and to go with Chase and Kenta just doesn't seem to make sense. But and again too, I mean, they could pull a swerve here because Hikuleo and Hikuleo and ELP, they won the strong tag team defense, and it seems that you would think that they would beat Kenta and Chase in the tag title defense here as well. But maybe this is a weird booking thing here, and these guys end up winning the titles when you least expect it. But I'm going to go with Hikuleo and ELP retaining the titles here and hopefully moving on to something a little bit more entertaining than Chase and Kenta. Then following that, we will have the big rematch with the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, coming to Japan to take on the front man of TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr. These guys had an incredible match at Wrestle Dream a few months ago for AEW. It won our Excursion Match of the Year in our year-end awards. Just a really incredible match between those two guys. And so we know these guys have great chemistry. They've been doing their best to try to tell this story cross-promotionally with Sabre wrestling guys like Tiger Mask and Noguchi and Makabe and tapping them all out. And Danielson, wrestling Yuji Nagata and Hechicero on Collision this past week, so wrestling some like technical strong style guys as well. And so these guys have really kind of been challenging themselves and getting ready for this big matchup here in Osaka. And again, very interesting on what the result could be here. We know that Bryan Danielson defeated Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream, so you would think that, all right, maybe Sabre's gonna get the win here. Kind of like we saw with Danielson and Okada, with Danielson beating Okada at Forbidden Door, and then Danielson coming into the Tokyo Dome and giving the win back to Okada. But the thing is, do you want to beat Bryan Danielson twice in Japan? Losing the singles match to Okada, or are you going to beat him again with Sabre? I mean, personally, I think that's the right booking call. To give Sabre the win back, or I guess you could do a time limit draw and then do a third match at Forbidden Door 3 and have Sabre get the win. But I think it's good for Sabre to get the win in Japan, and a very highly technical matchup. So I'm going to go with Zack Sabre getting the win here, but I would not be surprised if Danielson gets the win, and we have the story of Sabre chasing Danielson, kind of similar to, last year of Ospreay chasing Kenny. So they could do something like that, but I think the better call would be to have Zack Sabre get the win, and then you have Zack go into Mars with a lot of momentum. I know Zack's won New Japan Cup twice now, but I mean, he's a guy that could potentially win it again, have him win it a third time, and have him win the world title. So I think a win here for Sabre could do a lot for him and really help catapult him into challenging for the world title very soon. And then the big main event for this card is going to be the 10-man steel cage tag team match with the United Empire versus the Bullet Club War Dogs. So on the Empire side, we have Francesco Akira, Hanare, Jeff Cobb, TJP, and Will Ospreay in his last match for New Japan Pro Wrestling, taking on the Bullet Club War Dogs. That's Alex Coughlin, Claude Connors, Dave Finlay, Drilla Maloney, and Gabe Kidd. And we did find out that this is going to be wrestled War Game style. Dave Finlay cutting that post-match promo in the back, saying that, it's going to start off one guy from the Empire, one guy from the War Dog, then 2 minutes interval, a War Dog will come out so that the odds are against the United Empire, and then back and forth. So also Finlay, he was able to, Ospreay gave him the ability to pick the stipulation and the rule. So Finlay, he picked the cage match, and now he is established this will be War Games rules, and we'll have the alternating, and also they did the correct way with having the heel team having the advantage over the baby faces. So we'll see who ends up starting out. I think Finlay might have said he might be one starting, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll go back and forth there, and then I'll see. War Dogs will have the advantage throughout the match, and again, another interesting match to book here on who's going to win, because this is Will Ospreay's last match in New Japan, and a lot of people want to see him eat a loss on the way out, put somebody over. But then there's also some elements with Akira. Is he going to be 100% coming into this matchup? Is he going to be kind of cowarding away? We've seen that. He freaked out when they pulled the fork out during that tag title match, and he has seemed to be the weak link on the Empire side. So I think that's a situation there. Maybe he doesn't come out, and then UE's down 3-5, or I guess 4-5. He doesn't come out at all. Or he leaves during a cage match, something like that. Like there's stuff you can do there. He turns on them. And then also too, like we mentioned earlier, with Gabe Kidd and his comments, the kind of issues with Dave Finlay. You could have Finlay turn on the War Dogs, and then, you could have Gabe Kidd turn on Finlay, and then the War Dogs leave Finlay high and dry, and then he gets the 5-on-1 beat down. UE wins, and you still kind of protect Finlay by having him lose to 5 guys. There's a lot of different interesting options that they could do here. And I'm having a hard time predicting this one, but because the War Dogs we just talked about, they had a ton of heat and momentum going into this matchup. It kind of feels like, if you follow like the old school momentum formula, usually when the heel has the momentum going into a big pay-per-view match, that means the babyface is going to win. They're going to get their comeuppance, and we're going to get the happy ending. But the only thing here, the faces, the top face, Will Ospreay in this match, he's leaving the promotion. So I guess it's kind of similar to an Okada situation. Do you want to celebrate this guy on his last night? Do you want to send him out on a high note? Or do you want him to do the JOB, stare at the lights, put somebody over? And again, there are 4 other guys in here, so you don't necessarily have to beat Ospreay. Also, any one of the Empire guys can take a pinfall or submission here, so you can have you lose without pinning Ospreay. But I don't know if you want those guys losing. I kind of feel like they need something, because the War Dogs have just run rampant over them these last few nights. And you have them with the junior tag titles, Finlay with the global title, but also too another thing to consider, Finlay has that global title match coming up, defending against Nick Nemeth, former Dolph Ziggler. So I would think also you would want him to have some momentum, but again, you could protect Finlay either by doing the 5-on-1 or having one of the other War Dogs eat the loss there. Obviously, Drilla Baloney is another weak link there for the War Dogs, considering the torn bicep injury. So, I mean, there's so many factors at play, and I could see logical way for either team to win and it being fine. But I'm going to go with United Empire getting the win here. I think they're going to end the show on a good note. I think that, Ospreay, he's kind of been the odd man out on this story because he hasn't been on the tour. I think he's going to kind of come in and kind of be the big savior, and we kind of have this one last hurrah with the United Empire, and it'll be a good way to send Will Ospreay out. And I had two questions here. First from Sir Sam. He says, I'm pumped for the Osaka show. Cage match looks awesome. Has NJPW ever done a match like this before? Sir Sam, Josh laid out a really cool thread on our Twitter account at Chaos Strong Style, listing out all the different cage matches that there's been in New Japan history. I don't think they've done the 5-on-5. I have to look back through the thread, but they have done cage matches before. They've been very sparingly. But yeah, I'm excited too, and it's going to be a cool matchup. They've built it really well. So let's see here. I'm pulling up the cage match history here. So the early precursor to the steel cage, there was the fence death match with Antonio Inoki defeating Tiger Jeet Singh for the NWF title. That was February 10th, 1977. Then the first official steel cage match, you have the Konami cage death match, which was Takayama defeating Chono for the IWGP title. That was August 28th, 2003. Then a second steel cage match, there was a empty arena KO only cage death match with Tanahashi over Murakami. That was March 28th, 2004. Then after that, there was Togi Makabe defeating Sasaki in NJPW Lockup. That was May 2nd, February 4th, 2007. So that was a single steel cage there. And then the last steel cage match was, so they did an 8-man tag steel cage match, which was the Great Bash heel team of Gato, Jado, Togi Makabe, and Ishii over Shadow WX, Takashi Sasaki, Kentaro Kanemura, and Maso Orihara. And that was from NJPW Lockup 14, January 13th, 2008. So the last one they did was a 8-on-8 cage. I'm not sure if those were War Games rules. I don't think they were. So I think this is the first time that New Japan is doing a big War Game style cage, and we don't know exactly what the cage is going to look like. I think Charlton on commentary on these Road 2 shows did speculate that it would be something big enough to kind of cover the outside, kind of like a Hell in a Cell style cage to kind of keep all these guys confined away from the crowd, and it'd be big enough for these guys to be able to do their match in the cage. So I'm expecting it will get a bigger cage. I don't think we're doing 2 rings, but we're getting the War Game style presentation. And so it should be awesome. Like I mentioned earlier, this feud was really well built, very heated blood feud, deserving of this kind of matchup. Then last question here from MJ. It says, after the cage match, will Akira be drinking beer or bubble tea? Well, I think Akira, he's going to be sipping on that bubble tea, whether he wins or lose. Maybe it'll either be a celebratory bubble tea if UE can beat the War Dogs, or if they lose, he'll be in defeat, laid up, sipping on that bubble tea. So all right, that wraps up my preview for New Beginning in Osaka. So that is this coming up Sunday, February 11th. I know there's Super Bowl Sundays also this Sunday. A lot of big stuff happening outside of wrestling on Sunday, but you need to be locked in, tuned in to New Beginning in Osaka this Sunday, njpwworld.com. This is going to be a incredible show. I think we're going to get some match of the year contenders here with the semi-main and main event. We're going to get that feel-good moment with Okada and Tanahashi, their last matchup, Okada's last match in Osaka, the history there. So this is going to be a really great show, and I'm looking forward to reviewing this one next week. Going to transition now into the news. So first bit of news here, Kazuchika Okada, he is now officially a free agent. So Okada's New Japan contract expired at midnight on January 31st, Japanese Standard Time. The 36-year-old released a statement on X thanking fans for supporting NJPW for the last 17 years. Okada wrote, "Thank you for supporting New Japan Pro Wrestling for 17 years. Thank you very much. I laughed, got angry, cried. It was great. I look forward to playing the remaining 3 games as a free agent." With Okada's contract expiring, his merchandise is being removed from ProWrestlingTees.com. And Okada also recently applied to trademark his name for wrestling purposes with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And like we mentioned earlier this year, he filed to trademark Rainmaker for wrestling purposes as well. So Okada officially a free agent. He will be, these last 3 New Japan matches will be technically as a freelancer. And so I know a lot of people have been speculating where he's going to go, especially with his stuff being pulled from Pro Wrestling Tees. And that's not a sign for AEW or WWE. So the Okada merch that's up on Pro Wrestling Tees were sold through New Japan. And so we saw a similar thing when Jay White left New Japan and went to AEW. They had to pull all the New Japan store-owned Jay White merch, and then that got moved to his AEW store, and then they created a AEW Jay White merchandise. And so same thing here, Okada stuff being pulled from that New Japan promoted store that's on Pro Wrestling Tees. And then if he goes with AEW, obviously there will be an Okada store under the AEW branch there on Pro Wrestling Tees. Or if he goes to WWE, his merch will be on WWE Shop. So I haven't heard anything lately on really which way he's going to go, other than what everybody else has kind of heard. Dave Meltzer has speculated that, I guess it reported that AEW has given Okada the higher offer, the higher money offer, and AEW sources say that Tony Khan would not be outbid for Kazuchika Okada. So it really depends on what Okada wants. So if he wants the biggest money deal, it sounds like he's going to get that with AEW and Tony Khan. If he wants that to kind of check off that WrestleMania bucket list, competing on the biggest, the grandest stage of them all and being a part of WWE, that's going to be the way he goes. And we really haven't heard anything. We know that Tony Khan does have a big announcement coming up this Wednesday on Dynamite, but I believe that's going to be him announcing a show in Boston TD Gardens and announcing that Mercedes Moné is going to be all elite. But it could be a double announcement and him being like, yeah, we're going to have Mercedes and Okada debuting on that Boston show, which would be cool for AEW. But we don't know what Okada's going to do. I would guess, and I've kind of felt this way from the beginning, that he's going to go to AEW. He has that friendship and relationship with the Young Bucks. They really helped him out during his time in TNA when he was on excursion here in Orlando, and they really looked out for him, and he's kind of continued that friendship with them throughout the years. And obviously we know the history between him and Kenny Omega, and they're friends, and I'm sure they would love to wrestle together. And then obviously Will Ospreay, the guy that's considered his quote-unquote little brother, Okada was the one that brought Will Ospreay into New Japan after they had that Rev Pro match and brought him in Chaos. And we heard Will's promo, behind the scenes, Okada really did care for Ospreay, the little brother. He made sure that Ospreay, if he didn't have money, that he would get food to eat, take him for a haircut, take him around town, like always made sure that Okada had everything he needed, or that Ospreay had everything he needed. And so he took care of Ospreay and took him to the doctor and all that stuff. So clearly there, even though, kayfabe, Ospreay turned on Okada and they're supposed to hate each other, like clearly in real life that they are probably really good friends. And if you follow the tea leaves, like Ospreay used Barry Bloom to negotiate his AEW contract and have all these companies bidding for each other, and then not so shortly after Ospreay signs with AEW, all of a sudden Barry Bloom is representing Okada in the contract negotiation. So clearly Okada got that idea from Will and was showing him, hey bruv, look at these zeros on this check, bruv. So yeah, I would really be surprised, and I know that Josh, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and he thinks that Okada will push as he'll be a bigger star in WWE. They'll give him kind of the Cody rollout and big pyro, big presentation, big WrestleMania matches. He'll kind of have a bigger presentation there, but I feel like he cares more about having great matches, and I feel like he would see his legacy kind of being better held with AEW, and also the partnership there with New Japan. He can continue to go back if he wanted to and work Tokyo Domes, and also he can keep the Okada name. He'll probably be able to keep the Rainmaker music. We saw Jay White still has the Switchblade music when he's coming out for singles matches. So he would very much be still Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada if he goes to AEW. If he goes to WWE, maybe they let him use a Rainmaker. Maybe they use his real name, or they tweak it, or drop the first name and he's just Okada. Who knows? There's a lot of things they could do to truly screw up his legacy, his look, his aura. And yeah, they might push him hot out the gate at first, but how's that working for Cody right now? So moving on to the next story here. Rossy Owaga, founder and booker of Stardom, was fired by Bushiroad today. And so I have some bullet points from Dave Meltzer's update on the Wrestling Observer website, and also I do have an update from Post Wrestling as well. So here's some bullet points that I pulled out of Dave's report that was behind the paywall on his site today. So first of all, there were allegations surfaced that Ogawa has attempted to poach talent from Stardom. And from that bullet point, there are people speculating, is Ogawa going to WWE? Has he been poaching Stardom talent to go to WWE? I mean, we saw Kairi Sane leave Stardom and went back to WWE, and people were speculating that. And then there's been speculation that Rossy's going to start his own promotion, and so that he has been poaching talent and staff and kind of getting them ready to be like, hey, I'm going to launch my own thing, and I want you to come with me. That's kind of where all this allegations of poaching is coming from, that he's either taking people with him to WWE, or he's taking people to him to start his own promotion. So second thing, Rossy, he's been facing challenges with Bushiroad execs for a while now, including Bushiroad fight president Kazuchika Okada, who has been overruling his decisions for about 9 months now. And because of that, Ogawa had already planned to leave because he was tired with these Bushiroad guys messing up his plans, his booking. They were, getting their hand in things. But eventually, Harada was replaced by Tara Okada as the Bushiroad fight president in November. However, even with the management change, Okada, obviously not Kazuchika Okada, Tara Okada, was continuing to also mess up with Ogawa's booking plans. But at that point, Rossy had already planned to leave. And so we know that Rossy sold Stardom to Bushiroad in 2009 under the impression that he would have autonomy, including a 5-year non-compete. So he thought, I'm going to keep booking, but Bushiroad owns it. Then the affiliation between Rossy and Bushiroad was set to end on February 18th. That was going to be the end of his contract with them. But then the announcement of Ogawa's firing came early. Many of the Stardom talent, they are very loyal to Rossy, who gave them big career breaks. And there are several departures expected from Stardom in March. So a lot of the Stardom deals are going to be up in March, and that's kind of what we saw with Julia. Julia was going to compete on the Windy City Riot show in April in Chicago, but due to all this backstage stuff, and she probably knew Rossy was leaving, she told company, my deal's up in March, I'm finishing up, I'm out of here. And so there's going to be a lot of other Stardom talent who, similar situation, their contracts are going to be up in March and they're going to be out of there. The one person that will be staying around for the time being will be Mayu Iwatani. So Mayu has a little bit of a longer term deal. I'm not sure when her contract ends, but she did sign more of a longer term deal that was a part of, I think, the movie deal of the movie that's being made about her life. So Mayu will be around. I mean, I guess she could ask for a release. We'll see what happens. But as of now, she's the only one that is guaranteed to be around for a bit longer, while the rest of the women, come March, we're going to probably see a lot of them jumping ship. So another thing here, there were talents that received legal threats for leaving before their contract expired. So apparently, there were talent that knew Rossy was leaving and they wanted to get out there early, but then they started getting legal threats. Dave said that Rossy is not moving to WWE. Now, however, that does not mean that there couldn't be some kind of WWE involvement here. We do know that WWE has been trying to get a foothold in Japan for quite some time now. They've been trying to do this NXT Japan thing for a while, and they've reached out to Stardom in the past, some other companies in Japan, trying to either work with them or buy them, and essentially they've been shut out at every stop here. But I mean, this could be a situation where there could be a deal if Rossy is starting a new promotion. He could, he's going to need funding. And you could have WWE come in there, provide fundings, help him outbid talent, help him pay for talent, outbid Stardom and Bushiroad, and kind of help load up the roster. So there could be some WWE involvement helping this new promotion kind of get kicked off, and that could be the way they finally get in Japan. And then last bullet point here, Taro Okada and Bushiroad fight merchandise manager Oyama will be taking over as the bookers for Stardom despite lacking experience in the role. So apparently these are other guys that are getting in the mix of messing with the booking, and there have been a lot of Stardom wrestlers not happy, a lot of Stardom fans too not happy with the way things have played out as well. So I think they're going to have a tough task booking Stardom, because it seems like they don't have the experience and they're currently not making fans happy. And then I saw an update on Bushi Road, or excuse me, on Post Wrestling about what Rossy is going to do next. Let me pull that up real quick. So Post Wrestling put up a interview that Ogawa did with Tokyo Sports, and so pretty much to sum this up, Rossy is, according to the Tokyo Sports interview, planning on launching a new promotion. Says, I want to do the things that we can't do here at Stardom and Bushi Road. There are quite a few things that can't be done here because we are a big corporation and we can't do everything. So clearly there's a plan here for a new promotion. He says we didn't do it, and referring to poaching talent and staff. There were a lot of wrestlers who heard rumors and wanted to come here to the new organization. However, Okada was okay with it. So yeah, lots of interesting moving pieces here. And again, these are just kind of cliff notes, highlights. I'm not the Stardom Joshi expert. Obviously, I'm talking about it here because obviously Stardom is the sister company in New Japan, same parent company, Bushi Road. So that's kind of what we're hearing from Observer, from Post Wrestling. There's a lot of other people that are kind of tweeting about it. I would suggest you listen to One Nation Radio this week with Rich Latta and James Boyd. I'm guessing they're going to talk about it. The Stardom cast, those guys, I'm sure they're going to be covering it. And so there's going to be a lot of Joshi podcasts and news sites covering this, talking about this in more detail. But again, I think the scary thing here is that this could be the door that lets WWE in Japan. Because even if Rossy has no plans to go to WWE and work there, like I mentioned, there is a possibility of them providing funding to Rossy to help him kickstart his new promotion, gets it off the ground. Then they start sending women there, and then they, essentially take hold, and it becomes NXT Japan. And they're in Japan. They start trying to do what they've done for decades and take over and destroy territories. So hopefully that is not the situation, but I don't know where Rossy would get funding from to launch a promotion. I don't know his personal finances, but if he's going to want to outbid, but again, it sounds like a lot of these Stardom women are very loyal to him and have a more personal relationship with him. So maybe they would be willing to take pay cuts if it means just working with Rossy and knowing that they're going to have better creative and kind of be a part of a company that kind of fits what they want to do. Did have a question here from Barry Walsh. Says, I've been reading about Rossy Owaga being fired from Stardom due to alleged poaching, and also partially due to advising Julia not to join AEW and preventing talent from working on AEW shows. Stardom has its own commitments and shows to book and can't just send talent for a glorified real-life Fire Pro simulation. Is this not alarming? Poaching happens. I mean, New Japan did it with Ishimori years back, and Tony poached about 20% of the roster at this point. Advising someone is surely just that, advice to someone you know personally. I am not an avid Stardom watcher, but if the Julia thing was the straw that broke the camel's back, does it not suggest or imply Tony Khan has more influence in Bushi Road than just within New Japan? Is this somehow not an implication of something bigger and more sinister? I hope it's not anything bigger. It's getting exhausting. Well, Barry, I don't think that this really has much to do with Tony Khan at all. I know Tony Khan did fire up the X when after the news of Rossy being fired broke, and he was sending kind of several tweets of being essentially happy that Rossy is out of there. And I think to that there's been rumors and stories that Tony has tried to get Stardom women to work AEW shows and it hasn't worked out, and apparently they wanted Stardom. They wanted Chris Statlander to appear on one of their shows at some point, and it didn't work out. So there's just kind of been this awkward relationship between them. Clearly, AEW and New Japan are working together, and I'm guessing they figured, oh, well, we're working with one Bushiroad company, we can work with the other one, and it hasn't worked out that way. And clearly there's been some hurt feelings, and apparently Tony thinks that Rossy is probably the reason for why there hasn't been more of a relationship with Stardom, and he sounds like he believes that Rossy is doing all this stuff for the Fed, for WWE. So clearly that's what all the Tony Khan stuff is about. I don't think Tony Khan has any influence in Bushiroad at all. I think he has influence on booking his guys against New Japan guys, but I don't think anything. Tony has no influence on what Bushiroad fight is doing with Stardom. And this has nothing to do, I think, any heinous thing with him or trying to be mad at them for Rossy. I mean, he's going to be mad because of that, but I don't think that anything malicious is happening here with AEW and Tony. I think the thing to be worried about, like I mentioned, is WWE getting their foothold in here and seeing this as an opportunity to get in Japan. Swig of water for the solo man here. All right, so that's the news there with Rossy Owaga. Like I mentioned, I would highly suggest that you tune into some Joshi experts. Definitely listen to One Nation Radio. I know they are also recording right now. They have their live stream going on Twitch, so I'm sure that they will be covering this stuff, and they will have more detail, especially James Boyd. So check them out, and you'll get some more details on this whole Rossy Stardom situation. But following that, there has been a match announced for the IWGP Women's Championship. Mayu Iwatani will defend the IWGP Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa on February 23rd. New Beginning in Sapporo Night 1. So we do know we've seen some issues with getting Stardom Women and the IWGP and Strong Women's titles booked regularly on big New Japan shows. And so, again, I'm wondering if that, we've heard rumors that that's been an issue of Gato not wanting to book this, and obviously Bushiroad executives have been in the mix. So I'm wondering if even Rossy was kind of against it too, maybe. And now he's out of there, so maybe Bushiroad's now maybe strong-arming Gato and be like, we're going to do this. So, I mean, I'm down. Mayu and Mina are awesome, so that should be a good match for New Beginning in Sapporo Night 1. In other news, Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii will challenge Orange Cassidy for the AEW International Championship this coming Saturday on Collision. Then, in other news, my man, Satoshi Kojima, the leader of the Bread Club, he defeated Alex Kane this past weekend to become the first ever two-time MLW champion, and he's going to defend that title against Minoru Suzuki on February 29th at MLW Intimidation Games. I have not seen the match yet, but I was very ecstatic to see that Kojima won the MLW title. I did say, I said, Court Bauer, if you want me to start watching MLW again, you put the strap on my man Kojima. I watched the original MLW back in the early 2000s, and that's where I first saw Kojima and saw his MLW run, and that's how I really started to follow Kojima. And it's so cool that he's back in MLW, and I've been saying it because since they relaunched MLW, I was like, man, you got to get Kojima back in there. You have to get him a title match, but I'm pretty pumped that he won the title here, two-time MLW champ. And it seems like they're going to give him a little run of the title before he probably, I would assume, drops it back to Alex Kane or some other guy that they're pushing. But yeah, really cool news here for Kojima, for the Bread Club members around the world. We all partaked in bread this weekend as we celebrated. I had some Texas toast this weekend and today to celebrate Satoshi Kojima winning the MLW World Heavyweight title. So great stuff there. Definitely gonna have to watch the match, and I'll see the Suzuki match coming up, and seems like the cozy one is in for a really great year. Following that, Zack Sabre Jr. will be facing Shabam at Set Up Thailand Pro Wrestling on March 23rd. Also on that show, El Phantasmo will face Jonathan Johnson. So this is a Thailand promotion here. Apparently, these are two of their top stars that will be facing off against ZSJ and ELP. And then last thing in the news here, Yuto Nakashima will face Luke Jacobs coming up at Rev Pros Live in Southampton 28 this Sunday. So that is it for the news. Gonna move into questions and get ready to wrap this show up. So question here from Def Triangle 720. He says, if you guys watch the BTR videos for certain matches, do you think New Japan could use some more exciting music? I watch all the BTRs and they usually show them before the matches. And I personally have not had an issue with any of the music they've used. I think that's one of the best things that New Japan does are their VTR. So I'm fine with what they've been doing. He also asked, do you think New Japan has to rely on other companies' talent for the heavyweight tag team division? No, I don't think they do. They showed in World Tag League that they have a lineup of teams that they can use. Let me pull up this World Tag League lineup real quick. So I got the lineup here. So look at the teams that we had in World Tag League. You had Coughlin and Gabe Kidd. You have TMDK. You had Ishii and Yano, Okan Hanare. Obviously, Umeo Narita, that's not going to work. They used Kiyomiya and Oiwa. Then in the B block, you had Higaleo ELP. You got Bishamon, Monster Sauce, Taichi, and Uemura. They used Soberano and Atlantis, Suji and Zandakon Jr., Nagata and Suzuki. There were a lot of really solid teams in this tournament. And the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of ridiculous that they going with Chase and Kenta when you look at the field here. There's so many other teams that they could have used to go up against ELP and Hikaleo. So I don't think they have to rely on other. They can bring in the CMLL and AEW and Rev Pro guys, but they have a little mini division that they just haven't really been using. And his last question is there something from a production standpoint New Japan can improve on? I think it's a camera quality. Whenever I watch Noah shows, I just feel like their camera work, well, not necessarily camera work, but their camera quality is just far more crisp. It feels like it's shot in 4K. I don't know if that is, but it's really high quality HD kind of stuff, and it looks like WWE in a way. It looks like, all right, this is a top end major league promotion, and a lot of times New Japan shows don't always feel that way. And even with the New Japan World Update, at least for me, I haven't noticed a drastic difference in the picture quality. So I think that's something that they could improve on. And again, with Noah, I love with Noah the way that they bring up stats with the guys throughout the match. I think that's a cool production element to kind of help newer fans get to know guys, or pull these stats up that kind of lead into the match. So I think that's another kind of cool production thing that Noah does that I think New Japan could pick up on. But I'll say those would probably be two of the main things for me. Next question here from that dude named Menace says, realistically, who is the next couple of challengers for the heavyweight title? I think, obviously it depends on whether Naito retains or Sonata wins. But I think that Zack Sabre Jr. is realistic. I think Shingo Takagi is realistic. I think that they should get some of these Reiwa Musketeers on title match, whether they win it or not. I think that would be helpful. I mean, I think Taichi's a guy that could potentially challenge, not win it. Trying to think. Those are the first few names that are coming to my mind right now. I'll say we got Jon Moxley challenging. Well, he's facing Naito, but I'm assuming Naito's going to win. You'll have Moxley challenging. So, again, we could see some AEW guys come challenge as well. Then his last question here. Thoughts on the whole Rock Roman fiasco? Oh, man. Obviously we're not a WWE podcast, but also I keep aware of stuff that's happening in the wrestling world. And obviously WWE is the biggest, in the wrestling world. But, man, this whole Rock, Roman, Cody stuff has been peak comedy. Like, I watched that SmackDown segment on YouTube because, obviously I heard what happened, and I've seen memes and clips of Cody essentially being forced to give his main event to The Rock, and they're building this whole Rock and Roman thing. But that whole segment, I mean, if you want a good laugh, you need to go on YouTube and watch that segment from SmackDown last Friday. First of all, it's hilarious because you have Roman out there and he's burying Seth Rollins. He's burying that the second world title, and essentially saying the things that we all say about that world title. It's a fake title, and Seth Rollins is carrying around this essentially loser's title, and pretty much everything that everybody says negatively about that world title and Seth Rollins. Roman said it all right there in his promo, and talking about, I know that you are upset that I work 10 times less as you, but I make 10 times as more as you. And he's like, Cody, do you want Seth Rollins money or you want Roman money? And just completely burying Seth Rollins. It was hilarious. And then Cody comes out there and he's cutting his promo, and he wants to take everything from Roman, but he had counsel before his decision, and then out comes Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and he gives Cody this hug, and you can just see that Cody's dejected and just not happy. And then you have the face off of Rock and Roman, and clearly it seems like that it's going to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania. And it's just, that whole segment was hilarious. And the more the news coming out about some of the backstage stuff that's going on, it's pretty hilarious. Apparently The Rock, if people don't know, the Rock is now part of the TKO board of directors, which TKO is the new parent company merger that runs WWE and UFC, that's owned by Endeavor. So Rock is a part of the board of directors, and apparently a part of the deal with him becoming a part of the board was this main event match with Roman Reigns. And apparently that was signed January 3rd. So they knew that Rock was coming in and won this match, and they still had Cody Rhodes come out here and win the Royal Rumble, and then they went out here and embarrassed this man on SmackDown. So yeah, the whole thing has just been absolutely hilarious. Ultimate politicking from Dwayne. They're trying to reignite a version of the Yes movement with Cody, and I don't think it's going to quite hit the same. So there's just so much about that whole situation that's hilarious. But again, if you want more insight onto that, I'm sure One Nation Radio, I'm sure they're going deep on that. Imp's WWE Adventure this week, I'm sure he'll cover some of that stuff as well. So check out those shows right here on Social Suplex. But yeah, the whole thing is absolutely hilarious, and I don't understand why they had Cody win the Rumble and why they're doing all this to him. But hey, I'm not a fan of the promotion. It's peak comedy to me, and so I just feel bad for Cody fans like our boy Floyd over at All Things Elite, who really want to see Cody finish his story and it was laid out there perfectly. They should have done it last year, and they had. Luckily, Cody is still as over as he was last year. They could have done it this year, but Johnsonism. Moving on to Let's Commission 7252. What hopes and fears will you guys have post Okada era? My hopes are that they push people that need to be pushed. Hanare, Gabe Kidd, all these War Dog guys, Zack Sabre Jr., Shingo, the Reiwa Musketeers, like elevate guys that deserve to be at the top of the card. So yeah, that's my hope, that we get this kind of rebuilding period where we do create new stars, new rivalries, and it becomes exciting because we have new stories, new challenges, new things to kind of do. And so we keep saying New Japan has a super talented roster. They have access to a lot of great talent between their partners, between RevPro, CMLL, AEW. They're doing all this stuff now, in Asia. They're going to Thailand. Like, they have the pipeline to bring fresh, new, exciting talent in. They already have, an established, exciting roster as well, even with a lot of guys leaving. So my hopes are that, we build new stars, get hot new rivalries, hot programs, and that this new generation can help, bring Bushiroad, bring New Japan back up, and get it back on the upswing. My fears are that Gato will only want to rely on Naito, and Naito is already kind of a wounded horse, and things could take a downswing if we don't start pushing the newer talent. If we don't get the Musketeers and the War Dogs and Vegeta and Oiwa and all, if we don't get these guys over, it's gonna be bad, because you already have the top of the card is aging. Naito, he's getting up there, has the bad knees, has the bad eyes. Shingo, as much as I love Shingo, and Shingo he's still great and still go, he is older. Even Zack Sabre Jr. I think he's mid 30s now, but again, he's getting up there, so he's eventually going to be getting up there. And so we have these 20-somethings, mid 20-something, early 20-something, late 20-something War Dogs and Vegeta, all these guys, all these young lions. Like, let's get them cooking, let's get them rolling. Like, I want to see Gato try some things. And sometimes you have to throw things up against a wall and see if it sticks. I'm not saying you do another evil title run or anything like that, but clearly you have super talented guys in the Royal Musketeers, Umino, Tsuji, Uemura, Ren Narita. Like, pick one of those guys and go with them. Elevate these guys. Like, one of these Musketeers should win the New Japan Cup. One of them should win the G1. We need to get these guys going. So my fears will be we don't get anybody going, and we're going to rely on Naito and older stars, and then we're going to have this kind of lost generation of guys that don't get over. And his next question, he says, will Vince get the Benoit treatment once proven guilty? Probably. I mean, it seems like they're already kind of trying to scrub him and wipe him out of as much stuff as they can. Obviously, it's going to be very hard, especially during the Attitude Era, to completely wipe Vince out. Obviously, he was the hottest heel of that rivalry with Stone Cold. But yeah, I think that they are going to try to scrub as much as him out. I think we're going to see a lot of revisionist history, and I think, they'll probably just try not to show highlights, and maybe even just kind of focus on that quote unquote reality era. Focus on Cena and Batista, and not show a lot of Vince stuff. Next question here from Bungholio _ the Mighty. And Bungholio, your name has popped a lot of listeners. in the Discord. They were talking about favorite listener names, and Bungholio, they have decided that you are the number 2 in best listener usernames, keeping it strong style. So he says, would President Tanahashi sign Jacob Fatu now that he's a free agent? I feel like he would be perfect for New Japan, given how well he was received during Battle of the Valley. What say you? Yeah, Jacob Fatu is awesome. He's raw. I know that there was, a legal incident with him several years ago of an arrest, but apparently that was a long time ago, and he's been straight since then. And yeah, I mean, he is incredible talent, super athletic for a guy his size. They have no problem bringing in a guy like Matt Riddle. Why not bring in Jacob Fatu? But we'll have to see kind of where the money lines, and also he's part of the Anoa'i Fatu family, that whole Samoan wrestling dynasty. So they want to keep the bloodline story going forever. I mean, you could literally pluck Jacob Fatu and put him in that bloodline and keep that thing going. So for him, also he just wrapped up MLW. He's going to be looking for probably bigger money, bigger platform. So I think New Japan would be great, but again, New Japan can outbid AEW or WWE. So I could see both of those promotions trying to bid for him. Next question here from Lee Chang is Bay 2. Says the WWE dropped a promo on NXT Vengeance last night about a man with 3 faces, a popular Japanese proverb. Is this Okada? I'm not going to lie, I am intrigued by what the WWE can do with Okada, especially with Triple H booking. And like Young Boy says, they will make him look like a star right out of the gate. I did not see this promo. I'll say I did not watch Vengeance Day. I guess I know people did say if Okada was going to WWE, they would start him out in NXT. But again, I really think he's going to AEW. I don't have any sources or confirmation on that. That's literally just my gut feeling and just how the way things are shaking out right now. And just how cocky and boastful TK is right now, I really think Okada is going to AEW. So I don't think he's this mystery man for NXT. And if I'm WWE, like the amount of money that you're paying Okada, why would you even? It's not like it's even like the, black and gold, the real black and gold NXT, where they brought Nakamura in and you're doing these big takeovers that are 10,000 seaters, and you can. And the hardcores are watching it. Like, I don't see the appeal at all for Okada going to NXT. I guess if you want him to learn to work the hard cam, like, I don't know, just keep him in the PC until you're ready to debut him. I would not put Okada on NXT. Next set of questions here from the Dark Soldier. Says, would Wrestle Kingdom this year have been improved if months before Naito told Sonata in a segment, I will have my roll call not at the Tokyo Dome. Keiji Muto comes out, him and Naito hug, and we get Muto over Sonata. Finally, after all these years, it would have been the right call, right? So clearly poking fun at the Cody Rock Roman situation. He also says, the story is finished. Kojima is MLW World Champion. Time for Bread Club to win all the other world titles in the other companies, right? Yes. If Kojima's going to be staying in America, let's get him over to TNA, get him that TNA Impact World title. Bring him over here to Tampa. Let's give him the Tampa Bay Pro World title. Let's get him an FIP, get that FIP title. Let's take him, he can beat Kenta for the Defy title. Give this man belts. Let's get him in GCW in that garbage promotion. Let's get him, saving that title. Give Kojima all the belts. Bread Club for life. Let's see. He also asks, will Gabe Kidd eventually stop being a kid and become a man? Well, I get the joke you're trying to make here, but Gabe keeps he's a madman, you know. His last question: while legends Kojima and Nagata seem to be heading out and having a pseudo second renaissance in their careers, after all, Kojima finished the story, and that's not even taking into account that American indie wrestler Minoru Suzuki. Why hasn't Hiroshi Tenzan done the same? Not complaining or anything, just curious. He's someone who I feel can show those young whippersnappers what it's all about. Yeah, I don't think Tenzan, I mean, his body's all jacked up, and I'm sure the last thing he wants to do is get on a plane and fly here and wrestle. And plus two, I don't think Tenzan is as over with the Western crowd as Kojima and Suzuki are. Obviously, the Bread Club thing has gotten Kojima over with Western fans, and obviously Suzuki's reputation and being Murder Grandpa and being on every independent show there is known to man. He's gotten over here in the West, so Tenzan's just not one of those guys where like I don't think there's a huge crowd that's going to be drawing for Tenzan. And again, to his body, and probably doesn't want to travel. Let's see here. Next set of questions from Barry Walsh. He says, are either of you worried for Tanahashi in the president role? Your parent company's not doing well financially. Your top star leaves. A lot of talent contracts are in the air, and the yen is suffering badly. If things don't go well for him, possibly even due to unforeseen circumstances, where does he go from here? His in-ring career is winding down, and I doubt he would be removed as president and just go back to a regular wrestler. Is there a worry it's too much to deal with for New Japan president that could lead to him parting ways with New Japan down the road? I would hate to see a day he wasn't connected to New Japan. I mean, right now I'm not worried. And I think the hard thing too, like we talked about when he first became president, is we don't know like exactly what he's doing as president. We don't know what his decisions are unless he outright comes out and says, it's my idea to put G1 back to 2 blocks. It's my idea to, make Umino the world champion. Like, we're not going to know what he does unless he actually says it. And so it's kind of hard to judge. Like, all right, is he a good president? So I'm not worried. I mean, I'm optimistic. Tanahashi, this is a role that he's wanted for a long time. He does kind of have I think it's a business degree. Like, and he's somebody that can understand management and the wrestlers. I think there's a lot of upside with Tanahashi as the president. And for right now, I think it's way too early to be concerned. I think we need to, as the Fed fans say, let it play out. Barry's next question says, I read a recent interview in which Tanahashi stated he wanted New Japan to have its own 3,000 to 4,000 capacity stadium for larger events and call it a Inoki Stadium. Do you think this would be feasible given Bushiroad's current financial issues, and do you think it's a good idea anyway? I think it could lead to oversaturation in one area, and it's an odd move for a touring company. Any takes? Yeah, I did see Tanahashi mentioning wanting to potentially build a quote-unquote Inoki Stadium. I think for right now, I don't see this being anytime soon. Like you mentioned, Bushiroad, there's a lot of financial stuff that they're trying to rebound from, but there's also the rumors of the Tokyo Dome and Korakuen Hall being teared down. And, if you tear down Korakuen Hall, I mean, that's their main venue in Tokyo for, Road 2 shows, smaller shows. They always run Super Juniors and G1. There's always nights in Korakuen, the Fantastica Mania. Like, Korakuen would be, I think, a big loss for them. So I think, eventually wanting to have their own Tokyo-owned location could be the move. If it's a building they can control, and Korakuen Hall eventually, if that gets torn down. Let's see, in his last question here, could Okada deciding to leave have anything to do with his match with Tangaloa? It was after the G1 rumors first appeared, and perhaps after those devastating chops, he had enough of real strong style. No. Okada leaving had nothing to do with Tangaloa. It has all to do with those zeros that either Nick Khan or Tony Khan are going to put on this check. All right, well, that is the last question that I have here for recommended match of the week. Going to put a hold on that for this week, and we'll pick it back up next week, hopefully, with the young boy back in action. So with that, that's going to wrap things up here for us this week. Next week, we'll be back to review the new Beginning in Osaka. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. You can visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On X, you can follow us at KI Strong Style. You can follow the network at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy and Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. Join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr. and Austin Simowitz. Imps WWE Adventure with the Implications Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Tunnel Talk with Ali and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts. Ichauzo Bacayero.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.